We're going to go over a day trading strategy that not a lot of day traders actually talk about. This video is going to be around trading the initial balance. I'm going to give an entire tutorial and actually lesson on how to trade the initial balance and what I look for. Now, granted, what may work for me may not work for you, but I can at least give you an idea on the high probability trades that the initial balance actually sets up for you to take. A lot of uneducated people are going to be like, oh, he's just trading support and resistance, yada, yada, yada. We saw all that in my last video in the comment section. What people don't know is the initial balance has been around for quite some time. Pit traders have used it. It's been around for years. It is one of the most reputable trading strategies out there. And it's all around the initial balance, which is the first hour of the trading session. But before we get into the video, guys, if you want to skip evaluations and go straight to funded account, there's two links down. There's Tradeify and there's Fast Track in the description. You can click on those. And also, guys, join up on the Discord. We have tons of people actually joining, posting profits, learning from one another. It's been a total vibe. We built an entire community around trading, and there's no drama. There is no drama in my Discord. It is just purely trading, and that's what we are here to do, is to build a community around traders and all get better by learning from one another. Click that link down in the description and go join up. Last but not least, guys, the indicator we're going to use today is my initial balance indicator that Lux Algo partnered with me on and created. So what you'll see in this video is the indicator that I'm using to visualize the initial balance and actual trades and failed auctions that we're going to go over. So we're going to use that in this video, guys. Without further ado, let's jump in. As I said before, the initial balance is the first hour of the trading session. This is an actual term. If you don't know what the initial balance is or have never heard of it and never been educated by it, there is a whole book that talks about the initial balance. It's called Mind Over Markets. It goes over in depth TPO charts, the initial balance, things that you can use to trade this exact strategy. I definitely recommend you guys go check that out. I have a link in my Discord actually to go purchase on Amazon. So make sure to join up. But let's dive in here. We're talking about the initial balance. And again, this is the indicator that I partnered with Lux Algo on and they created for me. What we're looking at here is on the initial balance, you have a high and you have a low, right? In the first hour of the trading session, you have a high and a low. And what I typically look for is failed auctions, either to the downside or the upside, right? If you think about the market is an auction place, right? It's seeking areas of liquidity to conduct business. That's the overall job of the market, right? And so when you think about the market as an auction place, you can start to look for failed auctions on either the highs or the lows on the initial balance, right? And that's what you're seeing here, right? When we close, and remember, failed auctions happen on a 30-minute time frame, right? But you can view these on lower time frames, right? So I'm viewing this on a 5-minute, but if I go to the 30-minute, let's really break this down here. Okay, so we have the initial balance set right here, right? So here's the initial balance high, initial balance low. You can see that on the 30-minute candles here, we continued to close back within the initial balance, indicating a failed auction, right? And typically what happens when you have a failed auction is you can generally take the trade to the opposite direction. So since we had a failed auction to the low side, generally you can look for longs. Granted, today is not a great example because we have a war going on. We have strikes going on. There's a lot happening in the global news. And so that's why we saw such a large sell-off. So when you have global news like this, it's hard to really pay attention to technicals, but as like a surface level tutorial, that's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for failures on the initial balance high and initial balance low. In this case, we have initial balance low failures. We did get a pretty decent rip up. It was over 100-point rip once we failed this auction down here, right? And it looks like right now, this is real time with the market. It looks like we are trying to potentially fail the eye below here, but we'll see how that holds up. But let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back and take a look at what really happens here when you have a failure. All right, so looking at this example here, we have an initial balance high and initial balance low. This is on the 24th of September, right? So we have the initial balance set, and look what happens. We fail. Like we break below the initial balance low, but then the 30-minute candle closes back within, indicating a failed auction. Look what happens. We rip straight back up, extending the range above the initial balance high. Now, this may look like it ran without you on the 30-minute time frame, right? But let's go to the 5-minute here, and we'll go look at my chart just reset. Let me scroll out here and go back to where I was on the 24th, which should have been right here. Perfect. Okay, so on the 5-minute, where we failed, look what happens, right? We break below that initial balance low. get bullish and we engulf all of this. And so we can speculate that we're failing the initial balance low here and that we could take this position long before the 30-minute candle actually closes, right? It's all about risk, right? We know we have, as traders, we have to put on risk if we want to make anything in this market, right? But it's about how we manage it that matters. And so when you take trades like this, I never really recommend, loading up and going full position sizing on trades like this, right? Because in theory, you are counter trend, but you're still taking a high probability setup in terms of what this type of trade actually presents. And so I always recommend starting with a smaller position size and managing your risk well. And then if you are consistently right in the trade, then you can look to add into your position to catch a larger position size and catch a larger P&L, right? So in this case, when we failed this, we actually went to the other end of the initial balance, right? Now, does this always happen? No, it doesn't always happen this way. Sometimes we can get a retracement of 50% of the initial balance before we come back down, or we retrace a little bit, right? So it doesn't always have to happen this way, but these are things that you can watch for. Let's go back to, let's just scroll back here, all right? So here's another example, right? This is where we failed the upside, okay? So we failed the upside, right? We have the initial balance high, and we have the initial balance low. We have two failures on the high, right? The first initial balance failure that we had, we actually retraced about 80% of the initial balance, right? But then we tried to go up and reclaim the initial balance high where we failed it a second time, taking us all the way back down to the lower end of the range where we actually extended it a little bit. And so again, when I see these failed auctions, I'm really trying to target the other end of the range, right? And so if I see a failed auction, just in this example here, right? So if I see this happening, one, I'm not in a full position size immediately. I'm adding into this, okay? And as we break, continue to break, then I might try scaling out of it, especially if we get into like 50% of the initial balance retrace. I may scale out of my position then, and then let the rest run to the other end, right? And so in this case, that's what you could have done, right? You could have scaled in, and then retraced 50%, got out of it, and let the finals run and trailed your stop loss, right? Now, would you have maybe taken the whole trade down on the initial balance low before you got stopped out? Maybe not, right? You may have trailed your stop too tight and got stopped out. But the general idea of what price is doing after failed auction is what really matters the most here, right? I don't want to get too much involved on entries and exits on this video, but I really just want to show you the idea of what you can look for and expect when trading the initial balance, right? And so let's go here, right? This is an example where a failed auction didn't play out until way later, right? And so the initial balance high was set, initial balance low was set. We broke the initial balance and had continuation. Again, my indicator indicating here that we're having continuation coming all the way back down before we caught buyers and we actually closed back within the initial balance, indicating now we're failing the auction. We ripped higher, about 50% of the initial balance before coming back down and then actually extending the range higher, right? And so this type of day would have been a little more difficult to trade on the initial balance because we really didn't trade it until we closed back within it about midday, right? That on the, what was that, the 20th? So that would have been a tough day to actually trade the initial balance, all right? So let's keep scrolling. Let's find another example here on an actual failed auction that is tradable. So this is the same as the other day. So let's go here. So here's a failed auction that's tradable on the upside. And also I want to reemphasize here, right, too, that not every indicator is 100%. There is not one single indicator you can trade that's going to be 100% accurate 100% of the time, right? If that were the case, we would all be billionaires, right? The job of an indicator is to give you a visual representation of what's actually happened. And this indicator that I use and partner with Lux Algo on is to give you a visual representation of, we have a failed auction. This is the initial balance, and where we can expect price to go, right? This indicator is purely around market context. There is no SMAs, EMAs, no crossovers, no whatever, right? This is purely around market context and generated market information. Again, I'm going to show this book here, right? It's all market context and market sentiment, right? And that's why I love this strategy so much and why it's so powerful and has a high win rate, because it is market generated information, right? So looking at this, we have the initial balance high, initial balance low. We fail the initial balance high, right? We close back within it, and then we move straight back down to the initial balance low, where we actually extended the range lower. Now, would you have captured all this? Maybe not. Maybe you would have trailed your stop too tight, right? I'm not saying you're going to capture this entire trade. I'm just saying, as a general idea, this is something you can expect, right? Because this happens more often than not. When you have a failure, you generally see a retracement to the other end of the range, like here. Initial balance high, initial balance low. 4 failures before we rip to the other end of the initial balance high. All right. These are things that you can expect to happen on the initial balance. And so that's why I love this strategy so much. And guys, if you want to get access to this indicator, there's going to be a link down in the description of this video where you can you'll go to Lux Algo, and you'll be able to get this indicator and try for yourself. People in my Discord have been using it, so I definitely recommend joining up with my Discord, because they'll be able to provide a lot of feedback for you on this strategy and this indicator. Guys, this has been printing money for a lot of my Discord members in my community. And so I highly recommend you guys check it out. But I wanted to create this video just to give a little bit of context and a little bit of clarity, because I've had a lot of questions around the initial balance, and I wanted to kind of just clear it all up and answer the questions the best I could in this particular video. But with that said, if you do have more questions, I definitely join the Discord, because I'm more active in there and can answer your questions. But if you like this kind of video, smash that like button down below, subscribe to the channel, get more to the content, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.